Okay, tonight, up again. What is there to talk about today? Well, what Christian has moved to New York City, uh, which he seems to be happy about, and so, because I guess he lived there before. But he seems to be pleased with that, and his thing being back was about the debates between Trump and Biden, and like apparently a bunch of people like sent in to CNN or some did a bunch of TikToks or whatever in this new paradigm, like media movement type of thing, where they all were like, CNN, please ask a question about UAP UFO disclosure. And a few of those people even went so far as to say UAP UFO disclosure and black programs that are involving UAP tech, reverse engineered alien tech. And there's like a couple of them. And whilst I don't know, I think it's more indicative of like the society at large right now in present day, like where we're at. It's probably a better marker of where we're at as a society in America than there is any chance whatsoever of that being brought up between Trump or Biden. Yeah, that's just not gonna be a thing that happens. And but like I said, I think that it's a pretty good survey of like where people are at large when like these things are like just shown. Like I think they were all to CNN or whatever, and that was just like a trending thing was what, like, are we gonna find out and have UFO disclosure and black programs and all this investigated, da da da. And I think just like that would have been a question that people would have thought was so stupid that it would reach the level of disrespect 50 years ago. Right? Like, they not even 50 years ago, in the 90s, they would have been laughed right out of the room. So stupid, it's almost disrespectful. But nowadays, people, they'll just have on their channel, they won't scrub stuff, like, they're not scrubbing stuff like that, and people are just talking about, yeah, like, what's going on with this government black program stuff where all our money's going, like, and that's just like sort of a quote-unquote like mainstream question that's being featured on a mainstream news platform of sorts. And like but as far as like the debate, there's not a chance. There's not a chance there. As far as like Biden's not gonna be the guy that they're gonna let tackle that problem, and Trump's seen as too too unpredictable, like too, you know what I mean, to be entrusted. Like it's not gonna. They're not gonna. Either one of those people will be the ones to disclose or whatever. And in my opinion, I don't see that coming. But thinking about that, and thinking about how it was a pretty good, like, a marker of where society is at large, it did get me to thinking, it's sort of an interesting sort of situation, America at present. And for a whole lot of political reasons, for a whole lot of, like, a whole host of things, it's a strange sort of situation to be an American, right? But it's funny how, like, I think about this sometimes, like something happens at a time, and its effects are, like, extremely far reaching into throughout, like, time. Like, one thing has this elongated effect, and then in some cases are is it's like it's it continues on with newfound strength because of some circumstance. But, like, I've talked about this before, being from New Mexico, right? I'm from Hobbs, New Mexico, which is like 84 miles, something like that. Or if you take the other ways, it's like, I don't know, it's right around 80. But around all these small New Mexico towns, like Roswell, like Hobbs, like, all this stuff, like, there, you can go to certain, like, areas in the general area of the towns or whatever, and you can, like, I remember as a child, every 4th of July, everybody would drive out to the old air base. There was this, it was like, it went on forever, it seemed like. It was just an air base, flat, concrete air base, that it was just huge. And there was nothing on it or anything anymore. But, like, it just went on and on, just this flat top, concrete flat top. Everybody would go out there, and then they'd set off the town's 4th of July fireworks. And all that was put in and around all of those towns and all that stuff because of World War II. And then in New Mexico in particular, World War II, and then the A-bomb programs, and, in Los Alamos and Socorro and White Sands Missile Range, and all of the Trinity tests, etc., etc., etc. So it's like, not just World War II had a big effect, on the whole thing. That really had a big effect. But, like, it's interesting how far reaching into the structures of today that World War II, how the effects of World War II. And it's like certain things are sort of obvious, like, the global system works like this because of World War II, and that was when it established. That's pretty obvious. But there's certain things that, like, weren't, like, intended, and they sort of happened organically out of the situation. And this alien thing and the UFO, UAP disclosure, UFO disclosure, Roswell happened in 1947. The Air Force, intelligence and all that kind of stuff. And then right after that, in the 50s, that's when Area 51, I'm pretty sure, was built. And, and then they have bases and stuff on all in the middle of nowhere, all over the place, right? Like, They make plenty of money off us as taxpayers in America, and they have put that stuff to use, right? They have put that money to use. And it's sort of like this unintended, what happened out of all that, and all this secrecy and all this, it's super serious, like the most secretive programs, and like the communists and the fascists, and like the worries, and all these whole generations of people that like were so concerned and so they felt so at risk from these things in the worlds that they grew up in, that unfortunately we can't understand really anymore today. But like, I can't remember who I heard say this originally. Maybe, no, it wasn't me. I didn't say this. I don't remember. But like, I've heard it called a fiefdom, Area 51. And it sort of is. It's sort of like its own kingdom out there, because one thing that sort of probably wasn't intended with World War II and the A-bomb projects and all, and the, all that stuff with Oppenheimer and all those people, and all the things that they did, is the secrecy and level of seriousness and the nature of the thing that they were doing led to this. Aliens or not, dude, this happened. Aliens or not, this applies no matter if all the alien stuff is true or not. And the reverse engineering and all that stuff. This has happened regardless. But like, these companies, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, EG&G, these high profile military, general class, this high profile political class, these military people, these different groups and forces and lobbyists and all this kind of stuff, like, it's sort of wellsprung out of Area 51, and this whole, like, it's created a sort of American royalty, except the American royalty wasn't people. It was sort of like these entity companies, right? And it's just like like the Greatest Generation and the Silent Generations, like the Silent Generation, they didn't intend, like, they fought Hitler, they fought, the Japanese, like, it was as serious a time as you could possibly get. The worst war in human history. And they were so concerned about so much, they did the best they could. But like, once it was all over, and you know what I mean, and these things and these secret programs and all the stuff that they had done throughout and after that war, like, led to these entities that are like, well, like, I mean, like, as far as we know, Area 51 could be a completely, like, who knows what all is true or not about that place. It could all be true. None of it could be true. Like, for all we know, none of it is. For all we know, it all is. Like, they have their own army. It's like a little kingdom out there. If you accidentally fly into their airspace, they'll meet you they'll like come get you in the air, intercept you in the air, and will like tell you land at such and such airport, like it's a public airport in a public place. They'll land, and you will land, they'll land, and they will come and essentially like be like, you can't talk to anybody about this, but essentially, like, we're gonna, like, it's like the worst ticket fine like ticket you can possibly get, and like the worst law enforcement style warning of that nature you could possibly get, because it's so locked down, right? And like I said, like, and it would not surprise me in some of these places at all, like that you hear about in the lore of like other places in Mexico, like Dulce, or there's another one somewhere. Don't remember. Dulce's one. What's another secret place that there's supposedly secret bases and stuff up in Alaska. But all of that stuff, like, none of those are known about or confirmed or denied, or like, you know what I mean? Like, if any of those exist, they exist and they have enough anonymity that no one can, like, point to it or whatever, because they intercepted enough to, like, stop it. Or it's all just BS lore designed to be like, oh yeah, America's got all this crazy secret stuff or whatever, whichever it is. But these places that allegedly exist everybody knows Area 51 exists practically in the world, but especially Americans, and definitely North Americans. Like, they know Area 51 exists. That's the place, associated with the aliens and America's stealth bombers, and etc., 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 etc. But it's like, we'll never know exactly, like, which they sort of contribute to or don't. Just like we really don't know what they'll contribute to at DARPA or not, because all this stuff is so locked down and kept from us so heavily. But it's interesting to me that, man, it gets so hot here talking. I don't know why. But it's like, anyway, back to what I was saying, sorry. This like fiefdom of Area 51, this entity of companies that have come together and become this like corporate legends, that supposedly not only is like it a corporate legend, but they also control and have mastery of like the hidden universities system and just like all of this stuff. And it's like the in the background shadow government royalty fiefdom side of everything, right? And it's like this place just exists in America, like, even though like all of us hear a little of the news because of YouTube and the internet and everything a little bit every single day. Like, all of the government that we like look to that's doing stuff or whatever else, like on a day-to-day basis, on a normal day, like, they're just like this kingdom of the military that may or may not be housing and have access to extraterrestrial / interdimensional being tech, and it's just like, in a way that's sort of dumb, because like, if you were the shadow government, to like put yourself associated with one location, sort of, but at the same time it's also practical. Like, it's, if you're just in one place, it's easier to sort of keep track of, right? But that was definitely something I don't think that was intended from all of this, like, we have to create the A-bomb to save, like, the Western world. We have to keep it. We have to create this world of secrecy and high-tech secrecy and intelligence and all this stuff, and like, it's like so much power, so much money, so much intellect, so much everything was put into this stuff that like it began to like manifest itself onto this subject matter itself, right? Like, and that's sort of a weird sort of thing to have happened, because at any point you would think in a democracy, in a free world, that like someone would insist that like these companies and corporations like have some sort of accountability or whatever. And it's funny because here recently, side note, I saw Eric Weinstein give an interview. I don't know if it was new or old or what, but it was him. And he was like, he asked the person, so are you saying you think that aerospace, corporate aerospace has had breakthroughs in the private sector that they have definitively made the choice to like refuse to share with academia? And I don't know who he asked that of, but it was like, I was like, Eric, yes, like, yes, they would, they absolutely would. Like, look at the state of the Ivy League colleges right now, for one. For two, everybody in the Ivy League colleges, I'm sorry, like, they're the top echelon of the money as far as American society is concerned, but they're at the bottom as far as like being worth a damn. Like, they just like to do this protesting and these awful anti-Semitic chants, and none of them have jobs, none of them know what to do, none of them have any service, sense of service. They don't have any work ethic. It's all just like, look where I went to school on this piece of paper that I got from this place. You should give me money at such and such place of concentration of money. And that's how that society works. So, like, they might be at the top of the money in American society, but like, they're really a corrupted generation, and a very lost group within American society. And that doesn't seem like a group of people where, if I was aerospace and I had made breakthroughs that were like off the charts awesome, my first move would not be to be like, hey, MIT, UCLA, Pepperdine, Dartmouth, you know, Columbia, Harvard, I want to talk to your, you know, science departments and all their students and everything, and like, you want to do what? You want to go and talk about what with all these people who are virtue signaling, like cell phone filming, spoiled pricks? Like, that is not what we're gonna go and do. Like, you are not gonna go and tell academia anything about that. No, you're not gonna tell academia about any part of this. You're not. This is our thing, ours and the government's. This infrastructure, you start in World War II, it's just insulated itself year after year after year after year with our tax dollars. Never been a shortage of money. There's never been any problems. Do what you gotta do. And it's gotten deeper and deeper and more powerful, and accumulated more and more power more and more and more influence, until you reach this point to where we're at now, where like Area 51, you know, the last weaponized episode that I ever saw was when George Knapp and some other guy that he was working with were like, yeah, just driving out here to Area 51, and the guy's like saying stuff like, yeah, I've been out to Area 51 like 60 times and blah, da, 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 and it made it seem like they were literally driving to Area 51, the place, to like do investigative reporting, I guess, allegedly. And maybe I'm totally wrong, but that sure is what that part made it seem like. And like, that's sort of crazy, right? It's sort of crazy, like this Jason Sands guy that's manifested out of the woodwork. He was supposedly a red hat, whatever that means, at Area 51, in and for Area 51. Right? Bob Lazar is allegedly hired at Area 51, even though he is like best friends with John Lear, who is a shit-talking, daredevil, adrenaline junkie shit-talker, spoilt rich person brat, always was, but he never stops running his mouth, constantly saying stuff about aliens and government and conspiracies and on and on and on. Even though that easily followed rich person is best friends with Bob Lazar, Bob Lazar is still hired on at Area 51, works there, does the stuff and everything, eventually goes to George Knapp and does all the things that are done and shows, hey, you see, we're around here, right here, at this our general location, I'm gonna prove it to you, and here we go, and here's these lights flying around and these UFO looking things and blah, da, 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 da. So, essentially, when you think about it, right? Area 51, this mystery, deep state shadow government, corporate entity, cutting edge of technology and human possibilities, let's say. No holds barred, does whatever they want to do kind of group has reached a level of power where, and they've reached a level of like infamy in the general culture, that people who have been in there and allegedly and worked there allegedly and did all this stuff there allegedly and had their experiences there allegedly and all this stuff are going out and talking about the experiences and the things going on and whistleblowing and informing us, the public, of stuff, right? But they don't just stop there. Like, it's not just people that have worked there allegedly, but there's also people who like worked there and we treat them as if working in a place or having a job somewhere is like escaping, right? Like in Bob Lazar's case. And it's like, oh, you know, they almost got me. Anyway, Area 51 has this, and this to say about what I saw. Now, Bob Lazar 2.0, Jason Sands has some specific job, some did some specific thing whilst there, blah, 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 blah. Betty's not gonna breach any NDAs or anything like that. He'll tell us, just like Bob Lazar, Area 51, this. And I can confirm these things. And he won't have any concrete evidence, proof for none of it. And you got to ask yourself, why, in those cases, why in the heck is Area 51 and this corporate entity of malignant, whatever you want to call them, this corporate entity, corporate conglomerate entity of human legend, mystery, and cutting edge technology and the shadow government all wrapped up into one, whatever it is? Like, what does it say about the culture and just this moment that we're in right now and all this stuff, that this is happening at all? Right? And it's like you can truly like understand why in a lot of these cases that people are like, they're like, you know, there's some people that are like, nothing is really, has it seen, like, and they just like, they say it's all like from top to bottom, this life is controlled by, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's stuff like this. It's stuff like this where it's just, it's like this dark, bureaucratic, corporate entity of non-democratically accumulated people have created their own kingdom, and like it involves all these levels of things and all that. And it's just like, what in the heck does all of that mean? Just that this all exists and we're here, up to here at this point. Like, what does that say? And what could that mean about everything? Like from the whole NHI Spectrum story, that like they feel so compelled to about that subject matter that they do all this. That like it's but then like there's elements within that whole thing, these bright spots like David Grush, you know, like people who that are serious enough to let, you know, to either put their name, you know, and say, hey, blah, da, 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 this is happening. Or another sort of like respectable way of like parties that are going towards this and operating in this area now is like Avi Loeb. Like the woke ass, bitch ass Neil deGrasse Tysons and people like that, like they might not think that Avi Loeb is okay anymore, but like Avi Loeb has been a scientist, one of those hard scientists for a long time, and he's not gonna play your games. He's not gonna play these games of this shadow government BS and stuff. And like it was just like I was saying last video, I think that like Gary Nolan is another, like there are certain bright spots where you're like, the credibility's there, or the know-how is there, and the training and these certain areas are bright. Just like, and it's just like with How to Hunt and that whole element within the NHI is, if you wanted any of this history to be learned, known, and talked about, it would be in the way that Steve is doing it. In that very, it's not about the identities of the people. It's not about, that's important. It's not about like any of the fame or anything like that. This is about this topic, this subject matter, this history of us as a species that we do not remember, do not know about, and have been misled on in so many different ways and so many different levels. You know, and it's just like, I truly hope that, wow, it's so hot again. I truly hope that something can happen after the election's over in regards to this stuff. I sure hope the internet keeps the pressure on and keeps the heat, you know, building on the subject, because the mainstream media might not be reporting, but the internet knows, and the internet is talking about it, and the internet, you know, is on it. And I hope that continues to get stronger and stronger and build and build and build, and that hopefully society can find out in those organic, fairer ways, rather than like ever having to listen to what Area 51 has to say, you know, and about it, or about its relationship with humanity and all the rest. I want to know about this, and as far as me, I want to know personally about as much as I can about this NHI stuff. And along with that is the story of humanity, and the things that they just wrap up in a nice little bow and say it was the way it was and all this stuff, but we don't know the histories. And this part of this thing, an element of it, is the history and story of mankind, and what's our distant past up to present day is involved, and what all parties are involved with the story of humans. And I would rather find out the truth about stuff like that through a way like Steve and How to Hunt, or hearing it from Christian Harlock, who's, you know what I mean, like, this is what's being reported, this is what's being found out. I'm telling you as a regular person, communicating it to you as someone who's learning it with you. I would rather learn about the whole NHI spectrum story and what that means for humanity, and all of the different elements that go into that and are in and around humanity in that whole spectrum, by people like Steve, by Christian Harlock, by these fairer ways than I ever would. Oh, Area 51 has this to say? Oh, okay. Alien ships, alien technology. Oh, crazy. Yeah. DARPA super weapons, huh? Oh, yeah. Crazy. Okay. Oh, and you've got 8 levels, and like some of those levels lead to other dimensions. There's blah 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 blah. Cool. Right on. Yeah. Alright. Sounds good. Yeah. Through in one ear, out the other. I would much rather learn about all of this through Steve and his way. I would much, and so I can hear the truth as it is on the ground for regular Americans, regular North Americans, regular Canadians. I want to know the facts as they're being reported. I don't want to hear it. No, nor do most Americans, I would imagine. We don't want to hear it through the lens of some political bullshit, bunch of liars who are working for the political class, like CNN and MSNBC and Fox News, and like all the mainstream stuff. They all work for the political class, and it's like I wouldn't want to learn about the truth on these matters from them anyway. You know what I mean? Which, does that mean maybe it would be better if there was catastrophic disclosure? Maybe that is the most fair piece to like start the cascade break apart, you know, and okay, here's sort of as much of the story as we can tell you. Kind of, we can sum up for you, but not tell you everything. However, like, maybe it requires catastrophic disclosure. I don't know, but it's, I sure am like blessed, and we all are, that we live in the United States and in North America, and we have people like Steve, like Christian Harloff, like that. We're blessed to have these people because they're doing us a real service, even though most people and the majority of the population don't know, right? And have no clue because they're too busy working their asses off, doing the best they can, trying to do everything they can for their families. God bless them too. And I just, hopefully, when it's all said and done, these fairer, better people that have risen up in the internet can prevail in these ways. And after whatever piece it is breaks loose, and however it is that the story unfolds, and finally we're free to know. I hope that a lot of credit's given to the free agents that were doing it for the people and sort of by them, like Steve, like Christian Harloff, when the system and its representatives in the political class and their media, like, that work for them, like, when they weren't willing to ever be honest or truthful or anything with us ever, but like, thanks to the internet, thanks to these regular people that feel passionate about stuff, like, thankfully to that, maybe one day we can learn what's actually going on and what the elements within it, like the story of humanity and what's actually been going on with all that. Anyway, alright, I'm gonna, no, I don't have time. Maybe I'll take a break. Maybe I can take a break, and hopefully I'm going to do another short one, but hopefully that'll work. Here's to talking to you again. I'll be back. Alright, God bless y'all. Hope you sleep well. God willing, we'll get through the rest of this week together. You guys are the best. Night.